It's been a few days since the Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants, but we've had some thoughts on it, and today we'll dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly from the latest Cowboys win. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, and catching up with you Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays with quick-hitting videos, and we'll have one of those tomorrow, by the way. But anyways, Sunday night, the Ravens are just destroying the Buffalo Bills right now. It's not as much of a fun game as I would have expected it to be. But we're here to talk some Cowboys football today, man. It's been a few days since that Thursday night football that I don't know about you. Before we get into the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly, let me say this. It felt like such a weird game because it didn't feel like I'm watching the Cowboys play with their food against a lesser opponent. It really did feel like a close game between two teams that were more or less on the same caliber, at least for that one night, right? I'm not saying that the Cowboys are going to end up with a season record similar to the Giants or anything like that, but it just felt like, this isn't the version of the Cowboys team that I expected to see in 2024 overall. It didn't feel to me like, oh man, the Cowboys were super good everywhere, yet they were shooting themselves on the foot, which was the case maybe with some of the 2023 games where they struggled, but this felt different. This felt like, okay, this is the Cowboys. This is the Cowboys, and they can struggle with teams that present some complicated matchups. And, you look forward a little bit. You've got the Steelers, the Lions, the 49ers up next. And those are teams that will want to be physical against you, will want to run the football. And, you have some injuries piling up. So anyways, those are just some overall thoughts from that Thursday night game. Today, I wanted to move on from that overview, and I wanted to get into the good, the bad, the very, very ugly. And I'm going to flip it around, right? We're going to start from the very, very ugly. We're going to move on to the bad, and then we're going to move on to the good. Because, it's Sunday night. Tomorrow, we've got to wake up early on Monday to get the week started. So I don't want us living on a negative note. We'll save the good for last, and we'll start with the very, very ugly, because that's where the more newsy stuff will come in. Because to me, the very, very ugly thing about the Cowboys' win over the Giants was the Micah Parsons injury and the Marcus Lawrence injury, man. Let's talk about it. By the way, hi to everyone in the chat. I see Gregory in there. I see Guru in there. I see Cam in there. Who else do we have? Mark, Aaron, Katharina, Double R. Shout out to every single one of you. Guru, thank you for being here in the room. I see, I think I had already mentioned Justin, but shout out to you again. Toxic Lamp is somewhere in there. I think that's Joey Bell, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, welcome everyone into the show, man. The ugly, Micah Parsons and Marcus Lawrence, down injured. We, I think, suffered a major scare when we saw Micah Parsons get on that card, didn't we? That kind of sighting makes you think, man, that might be season ending or something like that. That was my fear, certainly, when I saw Micah Parsons get on that card. And at that point, you're like, okay, the season might just be over. Fortunately, more or less, fortunately, out of a bad situation, I guess you could say fortunately. It's not a season-ending injury for Micah. It's an ankle sprain. But Mike McCarthy did tell reporters that it was an injury worse than they expected at first. So right now, we are probably waiting until Monday to hear a more official update. They have not allegedly ruled out Micah Parsons for Week 5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I don't think it would be a surprise to anyone if Micah misses multiple games because of this injury, especially with that Week 7 bye week in the horizon, where you could kind of assume that the Cowboys might wait until after the bye week for Micah to get that extra rest, because obviously that's one of the players that you want to take care of, special care of, because he's a superstar and you want to, it's one of those injuries, as Guru says over here, like it's one of those lingering injuries if you're not careful with it. So I would be surprised if Micah plays before the bye week. That's just me speculating, though. On the DeMarcus Lawrence side of things are worse because DeMarcus Lawrence is likely headed to injured reserve because there is a timetable that has been reported on that says between 4 to 8 weeks. Obviously, that is a massive range in terms of a regular season in the NFL, because if DeMarcus Lawrence misses 8 games of the season, holy smokes, that is a game changer. We'll see on what end of that DeMarcus Lawrence is going to end up falling. But for now, we know he's headed to IR, right? It's not official yet, but that's been the reports. I think it wouldn't make sense to not place Lawrence on IR, which means he would miss at least your game against the Lions, the Steelers, the Lions, the Niners, and then the Falcons. And that has to be on the ugly, very, very ugly segment of this show for me, because you don't have defensive ends right now. Like, Marshawn Nyland has become one of the most important players on the Cowboys because their best shot at making the defensive ends work is just hoping that their second-round rookie quickly evolves into a more complete end. Because we've seen Marshawn Nyland show some flashes of what he can be, right? We know about his strength. He's shown that here and there in run defense, particularly. He's gotten some pressures this season to the point where you're, okay, Nyland can be a pass rusher. But then most of those pressures is Marshawn Nyland using the same technique, right? Using like that length that he has, using the long arm and trying to get to the QB. He doesn't have a repertoire of pass rush moves. He doesn't have a ample toolbox. And that's something that we've known since he came out of college during the draft process, right? So it would be somewhat unfair to expect Marshawn Nyland to get to the point where he likely needs to be for the Cowboys to really have a quality defensive end setup, right? It's a tough spot for the rookie, if we're being honest. I don't want to knock Marshawn Nyland because I don't think that would be fair. I just think it's not fair to ask him to be the guy right now, which is what the Cowboys are going to be forced to do. Because here's the thing. It is too late to find an option that can be a legitimate upgrade in free agency at this point. Like, you look up some of these names that are out there that are available, it's not great, right? You're going to see names like Randy Gregory out there being available, for example. And it is too early, which is the conundrum that the Cowboys find themselves in. It is too late to sign somebody of a free agency. And I think it is too early in the season to be shopping around in the trade block for a defensive end. Because remember, and this is even more so the case in 2024, because the NFL pushed the trade deadline until after week 9. Before it was after week 8. Now the NFL has pushed that back 1 week, so it's now after week 9. So that's going to be early November. I think somebody even mentioned like how the NFL might have miscalculated because it might end up lining up with election day, which would be, kind of weird with the news cycle and everything to have the trade deadline be then. But that's just a random thought in terms of the date. NFL teams are not selling their defensive ends right now, right? You're in a position where the teams that could sell you defensive ends are still trying to be like, hey, let me see if I've got something here to compete in 2024, especially with some of the weird results we've gotten so far this season. It feels like a lot of teams are still in the game, right? And it is too early for somebody to give up a player, a quality defensive end, at least, I think, at this point in the year. If it was late October and an NFL team already has a losing record, already knows this might not be the year, they might be looking for some return on one of their players, that's when the trades happen, right? When you already know who's going to be a buyer, who's going to be a seller. But right now, I don't think anyone knows what their season is going to look like, really, in 2024. So I think that is really a problem for the Cowboys. Right now, you've got Marshawn Nyland, you've got Chauncey Golston, you've got Carl Lawson, who you've elevated back-to-back, and you're likely going to end up signing to the 53-man roster. And you might be able to survive with that, but in a much more real sense, your run defense has already been struggling. And heck, one of the best parts of your run defense has been the fact that your defensive ends are at least setting the edge, right? The problem early on seemed to be, okay, the defensive tackles are not good. Then later on it was, okay, the linebackers and the cornerbacks, they're missing tackles at the second level. That cannot happen. But a common theme during those weeks when the Cowboys struggled versus the run, so the Saints, the Ravens, the topic was, okay, Lawrence and Parsons are actually setting the edge. So when you review the old 22, you're happy with that. Now you're taking that away from the Cowboys. That's a problem. Now, pass rush-wise, shout out to Skywalker Steele, who said on Friday, no one other than Micah Parsons has multiple games with 2+ pressures. That is crazy. That is crazy to think about. So right now, Dallas is in a spot where they're basically just crossing their fingers and hoping that Marshawn Neiland evolves at a very rapid pace so he can keep the Cowboys in these next 3 games or 4 games or whatever, as long as this has to go on, because Micah and Lawrence are likely missing multiple games. Lawrence is, again, essentially guaranteed to be headed to IR based on the reports that we've heard. Micah is a big question mark. Maybe tomorrow we'll know more. But for now, it's kind of feeling like he's a long shot to play before the bye week, at least in my opinion. So that is a very, very ugly, right? That is one of those things that the scoreboard reads 2015. It quite doesn't seem like the Cowboys won anything, though, on Thursday night because of how the game went, but also because of these injuries that are going to have an impact in your season moving forward. Gregory says, Mo, if we wait that long to act, we will be the sellers. And that is right? Seems to me like the Cowboys might be forced to swing for the fences and overpay for a player because of the timing that these happen, right? So if you could call up an NFL team and you're looking to shop for one of their defensive ends, you're going to have to pay a premium for that player because it is too early in the year, because teams don't want to trade their guys still. Mark Aaron says he's Mohammed on the practice squad. From what I remember, he is not. And even if you signed him, he would have to serve that 1-game suspension. So the thing about Al-Quadri Muhammad is just that. He's not there for immediate relief, basically. Guru says only Neiland and Golston at starting defensive ends now. Yeah, and you've got, who else? You've got Marshawn Neiland. I already said that. You have Tyrese Wett. You have Carl Lawson. Tyrese Wett might have to step up. I don't think the Cowboys like Tyrese Wett so much as a defensive end because they have had him as a healthy scratch pretty much for a good while. I will say, I will cut the Cowboys some slack here, okay? I've criticized the Cowboys a whole lot for not signing Stephon Gilmore. I didn't like that they didn't keep Armstrong or Fowler. I would have liked for them to keep one of them. But I will cut the Cowboys some slack in the sense that they did get pretty unlucky at defensive end, right? You had already lost Sam Williams in August, and now you're losing your 2 starting defensive ends who happen to be 2 of your biggest stars on defense, and you lose them at the same time. That is tough, man. That really, really is tough. I don't think this is quite the position that they kind of like ignored or anything like that. But man, still a pretty tough spot to be in. Let's move on, though. That was a very, very ugly, man. Let's move on to the bad for the Cowboys in that game. I've got a bullet point list right here, man. Let me know in the chat, what do you think was the bad from the Cowboys win over the Giants? And then we'll close with the good. Let me know what was the bad for you. So I saw someone bring one of the things up immediately. Somebody immediately took a shot at Andrew Booth Jr. Man, I'm not going to dive too deep into that because I don't think it will matter in the future. But let me read to you what I wrote about Andrew Booth Jr. back in August when we first learned what the roster looked like, the 53-man roster, man. This is what I wrote back in that cut down day. Man, trying to find the exact... okay, here we go. I wrote it as one of the biggest surprises from the roster, the fact that Andrew Booth had made it. And I wrote, I got to be honest, I don't get the Andrew Booth Jr. hype. He was bad in coverage during the preseason, including giving up 2 deep passes, and it could have been 3 had a Raiders receiver not dropped 1 pass. He did stand out as a tackler, but part of that had to do with the number of catches allowed in the first place. Cowboys Irish, which is, by the way, a great Twitter account, responded, you summarized his first half perfectly here, and that was written over a month ago. Because the Giants, they came with a plan, and that plan was find 25. And Malik Neighbors just made him look bad right off the bat with that double move that he pulled on him. Andrew Booth Jr. couldn't find himself on that field at all, and he was benched by halftime, right? So Andrew Booth Jr. was definitely one of the worst things that we saw on that Thursday night. But we got so much more to talk about. Richard says O-line. O-line is a good one, I think. Anton says tackling. And Anton, that's one of mine. So I'm right there with you. Let me give you some stats. You had 9 players with missed tackles on Thursday night. You had 4 players with 2+ missed tackles on Thursday night. And I have a problem with the guys that happen to be those dudes. One of them was Eric Kendricks with 3. Kendricks cannot be a guy with 3 missed tackles at the end of a game for the Cowboys. He just can't do that. You cannot afford to do that if you're Eric Kendricks. Hell, I'll cut Marvin Overshown more slack than I will Eric Kendricks, because Overshown is a flying missile that is just trying to make a big-time splash play, and with the nature of his game, some missed tackles are going to take place. But you are supposed to be the guy that is always in the right spot, that is always in the right place, and that is going to survive through fundamentals. Eric Kendricks cannot have 3 missed tackles after a game, man. That's just unacceptable to me. And maybe, as Cam says, he isn't the same anymore. You don't have to be prime Eric Kendricks for this team, though, to be fair, right? Just don't be a guy that misses 3 tackles in a game, man. I don't think the Cowboys defense can afford to have that. Now, the other guys that had multiple missed tackles, Trevon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, Malik Hooker. Man, Jordan Lewis has played the best out of those 3 dudes. At least on Thursday, that was the case. You cannot have those 3 defensive backs with multiple missed tackles, man. That cannot happen. Because at that point, the Giants are not even targeting one dude, right? Pretty much anyone you throw to, you might force a missed tackle. Guru says Booth is Seams boy, roster spot waste. Man, I wrote about this. I don't know how you don't cut Andrew Booth Jr. after that performance, especially with Daron Bland likely coming back for week 5. I know somebody asked about him early on the show. We don't know what Bland is gonna, when he's gonna return exactly, but Mike McCarthy did say that the Steelers game was always kind of like the goal for him, so we'll see if that translates into him playing on Sunday, man. Anyways, moving on the bath, I'm going to go with play calling. The play calling from Mike McCarthy on this game did not beat the allegations that he's been facing since the season started, right? Because there's been a debate among Cowboys Nation as to, hey, man, the offense, why is it bad? Is it because of the players? Is it because of the play calling? You got to be honest and say it's a little bit of both. But Mike McCarthy on Sunday, man, the Cowboys again received the football. Again, they get their first offense. We spent a full week criticizing the first 15 plays from Mike McCarthy. And the election that he had for us this time around was an inside run on 1st and 10, another inside run on 2nd down, and then on 3rd down, must-pass situation, he had Dak Prescott sprint out to the right, which to a degree, okay, you're trying to give him some time. You're trying to give some relief to Tyler Guyton, who is facing Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. You're trying to help out Terrence Steele. You're trying to help out Cooper Beebe against Dexter Lawrence. I get that. But there was one route that Dak Prescott was able to target on that particular play, right? It was basically CD or nothing. And I'm not sure how I feel about that on 3rd down, right? I'm not sure I love the idea of calling a pass concept on 3rd down that only has one potential target, especially when your quarterback's pretty damn good at reading stuff and going through his progressions. So you're kind of like not playing into that strength at all on 3rd down, But anyways, there was that. There was the fact that at some point in the game, this happened. 1st and 19, you run the football. 2nd and 20, you run the football. Get to 3rd and 12, right? And none of the pass catchers are past the sticks in their routes. Because Mike McCarthy called basically slants all across the field, slants everywhere. 3rd and 12, I don't care if they don't get to the sticks. We're running slants because I like them. That was pretty much what the Cowboys did in that one. Dak Prescott ended up targeting the flat on that. It just that to me screams that since the Cowboys were backed up, Mike McCarthy was like, nah, we'll just give up and we'll flip the field with a good punt here. And that's a sucky mentality, I will say, when you've got the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and the second highest paid wide receiver in the league. Man, try something, right? Try to get to 3rd and 5 and try to do something. Be aggressive. If you're going to basically treat that as a give-up drive, at least throw on 1st down and see if you find something and you change your course, something like that, right? Once again, I think it was a pretty static offense for Dallas. Little motion. CD obviously got to a very fast start, and that was good for the Cowboys. And actually, that's one of the things that are listed in the good part of this show. Second half, maybe, I wonder, could the Cowboys maybe gotten the ball a little bit more to him? But anyways, maybe that's just nitpicking at this point. One of the things that I also didn't like, though, is Brandon Cooks keeps being like this stop route receiver for the Cowboys. Quick stat for you. Brandon Cooks is in the 9th percentile in terms of height among NFL wide receivers. So why is he your contested ball player right now? I don't fully get that. I understand he might not be as fast as before, but I still would rather see Brandon Cooks on a crosser than on a comeback route, because I don't think he's that kind of receiver, right? They're using him like A.J. Brown, and obviously he's not A.J. Brown. So I don't like that either. There were a lot of penalties, as Richard says. Man, this could have been on the ugly side of things too. Richard says penalties were abundant. I'm not sure if it was just the way the refs were playing or actually undisciplined players. Again, young O-line. Yeah, man, the young O-line kind of justification I get, and I think it's fair. Because, they're rookies. Tyler Guyton is a rookie. Cooper Beebe is a rookie. Terrence Hill is just playing bad at this point, I think, but maybe that's a discussion for another day. But Tyler Guyton, for example, big mental mistake. I always like to say that if you're being called for a holding because you're getting beat, all right, I get it, right? It's obviously a very rough penalty. Man, Keon Coleman dropped that dime from Josh Allen. But anyways, closing my parentheses right there. When you're being called for a hold because you were beat, I can live with that, right? Because you lost the rep, so you had to hold, and then that's where you were called. That's different with false starts, though, because those are mental mistakes. But that particular holding from Tyler Guyton, when the Giants jump offside, you cannot do that, man. You got to know that's a free play. You've got a first row seat to it, to the offside. You got to know, hey, man, if he beats me, and I'll just bet that Dak Prescott will try to make this free play count. Worst case scenario, we're advancing 5 yards. And you make the holding, and then that just negates the free play, which had been successful from Dak. You got to be, much more aware in those sort of instances. So, yeah, the penalties were rough. Jalen Tolbert with more penalties, man, 2 of them. One of them was a pre-snap penalty. Again, man, you just way too much indiscipline, as you guys like to say. And the fact is, nothing new under the Mike McCarthy regime, which is what makes it even more frustrating. Big games, those penalties make the difference. We've learned that firsthand. The Cowboys have learned that firsthand, yet it still happens. That definitely goes in the bad category for sure. What else do we have? The pass rush was bad. Somebody had mentioned the pass rush. Let me try to get that. Gregory says, our non-pressure on Daniel Jones. What was the common theme when the Cowboys played the Saints and when the Cowboys played the Ravens? The common theme when we were talking about the defense was, they didn't earn their right to rush the passer. So they had to live on the run game world. Micah was not able to show off against Lamar Jackson. He wasn't able to show off against Derek Carr. On Thursday night, you finally got yourself in a position to exploit it. 41 dropbacks from Daniel Jones. 41 dropbacks. You probably know that they only got 1 sack, right? You probably know that already. But try to guess how many times they got close to a sack. Try to guess in the comments how many times was Daniel Jones hit as he threw the football. You know, in another word, you know, like those QB hits, that kind of stuff. He was hit 3 times, 0 times hit as he throws. They did not get there at all. I have yet to really dive into Micah Parsons specifically when watching the old 22. Micah talked about, you know, Devin Singletary basically being assigned to him all throughout the game. And he talked about they were not even chipping me. Like, they were stepping into the B gap, trying to stop me, blah, blah, blah. He might be telling the truth. In that case, somebody else just has to step up, man, at that point across the field. But the pass rush was not getting there to Daniel Jones. So, yeah, the pass rush was bad. And now you got to do it without Micah and D-Law. Damn, that's concerning to me. That is really, really concerning. Guru says, do we not line up Parsons so we're center anymore? That is true, right? Like, we didn't see a lot of that on Thursday night, I think. I think Guru is onto something there. Let's see what PFF has to say. Because, again, man, I want to look deeper into it when I watch the tape. But it's been a long week. We really, long weekend. Really have not done that. But let's just go through the alignments here from Micah. Micah aligned 47 times outside. He did have 0 snaps in the A-gap, man. 0 snaps. 6 snaps in the box. Yeah, man, that's weird. After it worked so well, too. It seems like they definitely moved him much less on this game. And I'm not sure why. Maybe the old 22 will provide some additional answers. Anyways, moving on a little bit here. Let's get into the good. Oh, no, one more thing. Daniel Jones had 3.09 seconds to throw in average per passing attempt. That would be the third highest mark, the third longest mark in the NFL this season before week 4 at least. So that's more or less where we are at. Anyways, moving on to the good, right? Let's get some positive vibes going on here. To you, let me know in the chat what was the good out of the Cowboys-Giants game on Thursday. And I better see one dude's name in there. I better see one particularly big dude's name in there. Because that was the best out of this Cowboys-Giants game. That was the single reason why I'm still excited about that win. Let me see how many of you drop that dude's name in the chat. Because he deserves it, bro. He deserves the applause. Mark Aaron says, Run D, a.k.a. Mossy Smith. Gregory says, Mossy Smith. Man, Mossy Smith played lights out. He was on fire. Guru said Mossy Smith as well. Shout out to you guys. Mossy Smith was awesome. I always like to say that, hey, when you're watching a defensive tackle and it's a nose guy, it's very tough to know from the live TV if he's killing it or not, because you got to watch the old 22. You got to take more context into account. You didn't need context when watching live to know Mossy Smith was just on fire. And we watched the old 22 afterwards. He was just as good as we thought he was. Mossy Smith was splitting double teams. He was tossing people around. He was bringing down Devin Singletary with force. You saw some big plays from the linebackers in the backfield because Mossy Smith was just doing his thing. We complained so much about not seeing the linebackers do well because of the poor defensive tackle play. You know, on Thursday, it was the other way around. Like, Mossy was just putting these linebackers in massive spots for success. Good stuff from Mossy, man. And listen. let's pause the hype a little bit and be open to the possibility that maybe the Giants just suck up front. Maybe John Michael Smith is a bad center. Maybe that's what happened. Who knows? But that sure as heck was promising, because that looked like a completely different player out there. Violent with the hands, strong as hell. He wasn't being pushed around when they were double teaming him. He was just on one. Highest, oh man, my voice even cracked out of excitement. Highest graded defender on the Cowboys in week 4. MVP Masi Smith, as Cam says right now in the chat. It was wild. I did not expect that at all. The numbers are not going to be, amazing when you look at the stats because he's a nose tackle. But when you watch what he did, so many times, Devin Singletary, just, hand of what's done, Masi Smith had the lineman on the running back's face. Like they call that resetting the line of scrimmage, right? Masi was just pushing guys backwards. Again, man, splitting blocks, making amazing tackles. There's a play where he was hustling to the sideline. Do you remember that? Hustling to the sideline, and you're like, okay, he's putting in the effort on Thursday night. He said after the game that he could be stress-free during the weekend. Hopefully that is an indication that something clicked for Masi. Maybe, that's the hope for me. As Rex says here, had one good game. It is a start. That's what this was. I agree with Rex right here. Let's see if he can do that week after week after week. I'm hoping, I really am hoping that something clicked for Masi Smith on Thursday night or even the week of preparation. And I'm hoping that relaxed feeling that he got post-game really translates into, okay, putting in the work was absolutely worth it, so I'll just keep doing it. Katharina says, come on, Mo, he wasn't that good. I guess there's a first time for everything. I really think he was that good, right? And you, for example, you look at the grade from PFF, they gave him an elite grade. Absolutely, it was that good to me. Is that enough for us to be like, oh, Masi Smith just arrived, he's going to kill it in the NFL? No, it's too early. As Rex said, it's just one game. He got my attention is what I'm trying to say. So that was the biggest good for me. Got some other stuff here. Overshown was just on fire. Was missing tackles left and right in week 3 versus the Ravens. On Thursday, he was just getting home every single time. Some big tackles in open space against Malik Neighbors. Some good stuff from Overshown. That's promising to me. Obviously, Dak and CD getting on the same page was awesome as well. They really established that tone early on. And then in the second half, they really didn't get the football a whole lot around the second and third quarter in terms of time of possession. I don't have the numbers, but that was a big part of our where the hell is CD and Dak feeling that we had. Time of possession was weird in the second and third quarter. I've also got Hunter Lipke. Hunter Lipke had a very nice catch when he's just he's in pass pro, and then he releases when no one blitzes, and he turns to Dak, and Dak is kind of scrambling a little bit, trying to find a lane in the pocket, and he just tosses it to Hunter Lipke. Hunter Lipke makes a tough catch where he basically makes it on the back shoulder, but he's going the opposite direction. That was a tough play from Hunter Lipke. Had some good moments on pass pro. 4th and 1. Everyone is thinking Dak is going to sneak this. And then they end up handing it off to Hunter Lipke, who ends up going left, receives some contact, somehow stays on his feet, hand on the ground, boom, props back up, gets the first down and a little bit more. Hunter Lipke was on fire. Cam says, man, Lipke, my dude. Mark Karen says they need to use Hunter more, which that is something that QB1 agrees with. This is Dak Prescott after the game talking about Hunter Lipke. Apart from comparing him to Mike Alstott and calling him little Mike Alstott, which was cool, he said, so awesome just to see a guy come in as a fullback, show that he can play tight end, fullback, running back, can pass protect. Made a huge third down catch last week, and obviously this week. Just a guy that not only gained more and more of my trust, but the coaches as well, understanding that he's just a football player. You can put him in any situation, and he's going to get the job done. When went and got a 4th and 1, almost bounced it, got tripped up, kept his feet, and went and got an extra 5 yards or so. So that is Dak Prescott telling you, and I quote, we've got to figure out ways to continue to get him on the field and allow him to make plays when he can. Some numbers for you very quickly here. Hunter Lipke had a 32% snap count in week 1, 14% week 2, 38% week 3, 52% week 4. I want to see more of Hunter Lipke as well. I'm all aboard the Hunter Lipke hype train. At this point, we are watching a player simultaneously climb the tight end depth chart and the running back depth chart. Because he didn't get a lot of carries, but let me tell you something. 4th and 1, gotta have it to play. It was Hunter Lipke getting the handoff. When we've seen the Cowboys absolutely needing to throw the football, it hasn't been Ezekiel Elliott in there. It was Hunter Lipke. So I think the two areas for which they supposedly brought Zeke in, pass protection and short yardage situations, I'm seeing the Cowboys trust Lipke more in those two areas. Zeke, by the way, had 10 snaps on Thursday night. Zeke is falling on that depth chart, and I think Lipke might overtake him even as a running back, honestly, at this point. Wouldn't be surprised if they start handing him the ball a little bit more. So, yeah, that was on the good side of things for me. And, man, look, he even had some more snaps than Luke Schoonmaker. He outsnapped both of them. We'll see what happens, man. This is a good comment from Mark Aaron, man. Give me $5 that Mo gets his haircut by Wednesday. It is so funny, man, because I was aiming for Tuesday. That's an insanely accurate comment right here. Like I didn't expect that one at all, but Mark Aaron was absolutely spot on that. And I'm talking 10 minutes before the show, I was like, okay, Tuesday would be a good day for Eric. So that was unbelievably accurate for Mark Aaron. I felt attacked. Holy smokes. Man, anyways, that will be it for me tonight here on the show. Hope that you enjoy your Sunday night, man. Hope that you enjoy your Monday as well. Get a strong start to the week. And I'll see you tomorrow with a quick hitting video. You'll still see me rock the long hair, long-ish hair. And then by Tuesday, maybe you'll get the trimmed version here on A to Z Sports Dallas. Hit the like button, though, for me. And I'll be seeing you very soon. Bye-bye.